You may have heard me joke about the fact that the most widely observed mitzvah in the Torah is a mitzvah we have in this week's Torah portion called Kedoshim, which is Hoicheach Teichiach Es Am Yisecha. You shall reprimand your fellow. That when you see a fellow Jew doing something which is not proper, that you have a mitzvah, a commandment, to actually enlighten them, to inform them that this is not the proper thing to do. This is a very one of the in my opinion, one of the most difficult mitzvahs to actually observe. And when most people observe it, they actually don't observe it. They actually do not successfully observe the mitzvah. The idea is to reprimand the person so that they will be able to at least hear what you're saying, even if they may not listen. But in other words, follow what you're saying, but at least they hear what you're saying. But very often the way we reprimand people is in a way that they simply can't even hear it. And the reason for that is because the way we approach them is from a top-down, in a top-down manner. It's where, I am enlightened. You are so wrong. And let me let you know that what you're doing is really, really wrong. And it's very hard for us to even notice that about ourselves, that it's the top-down, because there are many blockages to us being that honest with ourselves, of realizing the attitude that we bring to what we're saying. And I just heard this very beautiful story about parents who had a child who loved candy, but this child loved candy unlike the way most children love candy. He actually had a serious addiction to candy, and he just couldn't stop eating candy. It became an issue with his teeth, actually, and which were being severely affected. And wherever he would go, he would hunt down candy. So if he went to synagogue, there's the candy man in many synagogues, as we have in ours. And so he would hunt down that candy man. No matter what the parents tried to do how as much as the father tried to control it, you know how that is sometimes when you try to control a particular thing, it's that thing that the attempt to control it is actually what feeds it. It's that battle back and forth. So they really couldn't get this under control, and they were really seeking advice. They had taken it into all different types of professionals, psychologists and everything, but nothing really solved the issue. And someone told them, that there is a rabbi who's been an educator for maybe 30, 40 years. And he's a top educator. He just has a way with kids, that when he gets kids. Yeah, and I don't know if you've ever encountered such an educator, but they're very special people. And they have a way, in such a beautiful way, of resonating with a kid, and the kids really connect with them, and then, pay much closer attention to what they have to offer, to their quote-unquote rebuke. And so they approached this rabbi, and the rabbi thought about it, and he said, you know what, come back to me in a month, and in a month I'll meet him. They thought that was strange in a month, but okay, if he wants them to wait, they'll have to wait. So they had to wait out a month, and after a month, they set the meeting and they came to see him, and a magical thing happened. The magical thing was that after that meeting, somehow this rabbi spoke to the kid, and he really changed the kid's relationship with candy. And they just couldn't believe it. They went to all the professionals, everyone tried to do something, but no one was able to pull anything off. And here this rabbi, in a single meeting, and the age gap, you're talking about a rabbi, I don't know how old he was, in his 60s or 70s is the impression, to a kid who's probably 9, 10 years old. That's that's two completely different generations. And he was able to resonate with the kid. So they came to him afterwards and they thanked him profusely, of course, because he was helpful. But then they asked him, what was this? How do you do this? What do you do? He said, I'll be honest with you. When you came to me and you asked me to speak to your son about his candy addiction, I was thinking to myself, how am I going to resonate with your son on this issue? I mean, what association do I have with this issue? And then it occurred to me that I smoke. This actually happened in Israel, where smoking is far more widespread than it is in America. And I smoke, and I thought to myself, he loves candy and I love cigarettes. So I said, you know what? Give me a month. And from the day you came to me, I stopped smoking. And after a month of not smoking, I knew I'd be able to speak to this boy about his issue with candy, because I have dealt with my issue with smoking. And And he was able to, in fact, obviously he was talented, he was gifted, but he needed to have that that connection where he was really with that boy in his challenge. And this is just such a magnificent story, because when we're with another person and we tell them something, they can hear every bit of it. But when we're not with them, we're above them, below them, somewhere else, but we're not with them, then we can rebuke till we're blue in the face and the person just doesn't want to hear it. So the keys to getting someone to hear us are in our own pocket. We often say the other person's not listening. No, it's not the other person. It's us. And it requires, tremendous effort. Look, this rabbi, I'm sure he thought about the unhealthiness of smoking many times before in his life, but it was his care for another person that got him to do something for himself so he can resonate with the other person. And he intuitively understood that the keys are in my pocket. That's how I'll be able to resonate with him. This is a deep understanding of ourselves and others, and a deep commitment toward others. And that's really the secret behind this mitzvah of Ocheach Tocheach Hasamisecha. That it's easy to reprimand, but do you have the goods? Have you developed the character that's needed in order to successfully reprimand? Listen, when you listen to this week's Torah portion being read, which I hope you will, in a synagogue near you, I hope this will add deeper meaning and significance for you. Have a wonderful Shabbos.